Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show. So I just got back from GDC, but I'm actually about to go to PAX East now. We're going to be leaving on Thursday, but I am going to actually have a camera this time. Mind blown. I wish I knew how to use After Effects, so I could have just actually made my head explode. That would have been rad. So in fighting games, one of my favorite things ever is like mission mode in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Some sort of a way where they start you off slow, but then it gets harder and harder and harder and harder, and you just like get obsessed with trying to figure out how to fix it. So the new Mortal Kombat game, which I actually got to play at GDC and is awesome. I'm like super stoked about it, although I sucked at it, but it's not important. It has a challenge tower, basically, that is 300 missions long. It'll start off with things like, defeat the person in this match using only kicks. Then it gets progressively harder, which I'm totally cool with. A number of times this last weekend that people were like, hey, you want to hang out? Or, hey, you want to talk about stuff? And I was like, I would, but I've almost beaten Dante's mission mode, and you understand, right? We as gamers have a really strange sickness when it comes to video games. So one of the things that World of Warcraft players look forward to every time there's an expansion, and it never happens, is player housing. They've apparently planned to do it since the very beginning, and it's just never happened, but they keep talking about it every time they make an expansion. It sounds like, when you read what they say about it, it sounds like their big hang-up is like, well, why should we make housing if housing doesn't have, like, a specific purpose for being there? Like, why would we make gamer housing if we can't make it gamer housing extreme for World of Warcraft? But here's the thing, is that players like housing because it's housing. They like that it doesn't have, like they were talking about adding challenges to it. They like that there aren't any challenges, that it's just a space where they can put things, and on the holidays there's weird, like, decorations that show up. I think it would be cool if guilds could have their own housing. And obviously on their end, it would be a lucrative decision because people could pay IRL money for their housing. I don't know, I don't understand what the big hang up is with this. I feel like it wouldn't be all that hard to put together. You could have creepy little real estate agents that are in towns and things. And I feel like it would, I mean, if you did like what Lord of the Rings did, where they just had, you know, little sections that were off onto the side from these major cities, and you could buy a house in whatever city you wanted. Like, I don't see how that could go wrong, because it would just cut back on the number of people that were right in the middle of the city. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like it's just never gonna happen. I mean, we're this far in, Blizzard. But since they're so worried about giving it a purpose, I'm going to say to you, Blizzard, you need to chill out, because housing has to do with the player being able to customize a place and just chillax. So, let that happen. I was reading an article earlier about tailoring your own video game, like how Tomb Raider Underworld did, where you could literally, like, tinker with pretty much everything. And the writer of the article was saying that they didn't like that sort of idea where you could play with whatever you wanted. Like, he just liked if whoever was making the game was able to figure out a good difficulty curve so that he didn't have to think about it. He could just jump right into the game. He or she, who are you? It's a dude. Okay, we're good. I think being aware of difficulty is a really important part of making a game, and I could see why that would be extremely daunting, and why somebody would say, hey, why don't we just make it so that the entire game is fully customizable? Because, I mean, if you don't want to customize anything, then you can just leave it to the default, right? I feel like that's fine. Or, like, doing like what stacking did, where you would have easy, medium, and hard ways to solve the puzzles, but either way you could solve the puzzle and not feel like a giant failure. I think that as long as the developers don't get lazy with it, it's totally fine. Because that's where the problem happens, is if you were to sit down and say, okay, well, you know, we could spend all of this time trying to figure out the difficulty levels, or we could just make a random default and then just let the player kind of, you know, tinker with it however they want and not worry about it too much. I think there are a lot of people who would find that extremely daunting and be like, I'm not even gonna mess with this, and I'm also not gonna play your game anymore. That's my show. If you would like to join me at PAX, I will be uploading videos on Dexterity Bonus. I will also be there with Husky Starcraft, and I think that I'm going to be meeting up with iBash TV at some point, so that'll be super fun. I'm really excited about that. But otherwise, If you have any sort of response to anything that I said today, you should go ahead and leave a comment or a video response or whatever you would like. And if you would like to have coffee with me, you can go ahead and click here-ish. But otherwise, I will talk to you guys again soon. Okay, bye-bye.